A dog brought money every day to an elderly beggar woman. When they put them on camera, they were shocked. They say that dogs are man's best friend, but man does not always know how to live up to this friendship offered by these unselfish four-legged beings. Dogs, no matter if they have a home or are strays, if they are sick or healthy, if they are purebred or blends, they always know how to thank those who treat them well, giving them back with more than the good treatment they have enjoyed. And if you are not convinced of them, stay, because this story will prove you wrong. Aldemar was an alcoholic man who wandered the streets of his hometown. As a young man, he had been a local musician who enjoyed some fame and was promising to become an artist of national stature. His singing and guitar playing captivated audiences wherever he went, and his image was becoming more and more sought after. Thanks to music and the income he earned from it, Aldemar was able to give his mother the comfort she never had before, but always deserved. The woman never had to work again, since Aldemar earned enough from his serenades to take care of all the household expenses. Allowing his family to lead a dignified life, however, and despite his mother's advice, Aldemar allowed himself to be drawn more and more into the ways of alcohol. He had been a healthy adolescent who only thought about studying, but ended up giving in to the nightlife environment in which he lived, until he finally became an addicted consumer of liquor. At first, Aldemar simply accepted the drinks he was given as a courtesy in the places where he was invited to sing, but little by little, the young man developed a dangerous addiction to alcohol, which would end up slowly leading him to ruin. He gained fame as an inveterate drunkard, and his image was devalued to such an extent that no one wanted to hire him to set the mood for their family parties. The decline of his career awakened in him an unknown depression that he tried to drown with liquor, causing with it a feedback of the problem that would lead him to fall into the streets. The last thing his mother cared about was having to go back to work, because her son was no longer receiving an income. What was destroying her was the state he was in. So every night, she prayed to God he'd get Aldemar off the streets, and her prayers seemed to be heard. One early morning, while he was lying on a sidewalk, Aldemar saw a dog sitting next to him. It was a tender animal that, although it was obvious that it lived in the streets, by its appearance had a collar. It had probably escaped from its home a long time ago and had become accustomed to life on the streets. Aldemar thought that the dog was in very bad shape and that he should give him something, but since everything was closed, he left a bill between his neck and the collar so that the dog could buy something as soon as the sun rose. Such was the level of drunkenness in which Aldemar found himself. That day, as if by magic, the man felt that for the first time what his mother was telling him was for his own good, and after a long time, he decided not to go out at night to drink liquor. By the time he realized it, Aldemar had completed a week without drinking and felt better than ever. Fully recovered, and although he knew it made no sense, Aldemar could not get out of his mind the idea that God had worked in his life through that stray dog and had rewarded his gesture with the animal. He did not tell anyone out of fear that they would say he was crazy, but he decided to go and look for the dog, who found him on the exact same street and left him another bill between his collar and his neck. But on this occasion, the gesture was accompanied by a request that the people of that city trusted him. As if by magic, that same night, Aldemar received a call from an old friend of his who asked about his state of health, and seeing that he was recovered, hired him to work in his sister's wedding. Since then, the career of that local musician took off again, and since then, Aldemar has been telling the story of his recovery to anyone who would listen to him, always insisting that God had worked in his life through a stray dog. Most of those who listened to the story considered that Aldemar was so bad that he clung to anything to recover. As absurd as this was, there were still a few who, moved more by curiosity, decided to look for the dog in the street indicated by the musician and to leave a bill between his collar and his neck, all while they made some petition to God. What happened next is frankly a miracle. Those people, when looking for the dog, saw their petitions fulfilled almost immediately. So, the word about the noble dog spread like wildfire in that city. More and more of the inhabitants of that city gathered around that street in search of the animal, filling his neck with bills of all denominations, looking for a solution to their problems. Diseases healed, mortgages paid, and even love affairs conquered. The popular fervor was such that no one had thought to ask where the money that was left on his neck went, until a curious child asked the question out loud in the middle of a procession of people who had gone in search of the animal. The neighbors organized to remove the doubt and installed a security camera in the dark alley where they always saw the dog go. What they discovered the next day when they reviewed the tapes of the recording left them all in shock. The dog would go to an elderly beggar woman and give her the money. The scene was repeated each and every day they reviewed the security camera. What no one could explain was why that woman continued to live on the streets after getting all the money the animal brought her. They decided to look for her and question her directly, and the old woman's answer left them all even more surprised. The woman, who had remained isolated in her poverty, knew nothing of the story of the supposed power of her dog, and had not been able to explain the origin of that money. Being an honest woman as she was, that amount of bills frightened her rather than thrilled her, and from the moment her animal arrived with the first bill, she kept all the money her dog brought in a purse without spending a single penny. Moved by the townspeople, the original owners of all those bills authorized the woman to spend all the money collected, which paid for her stay in a nursing home for the rest of her life. The dog went with her, and she asked to please not give the animal any more money, but that did not stop the woman and her pet from becoming the most visited residents of the nursing home, as the whole town had grown fond of them. Especially Aldemar, who continued to reap his fame as a musician, and whenever he had a day off, he would drop by the nursing home to visit the woman and her dog. If you liked this video, don't forget to like it and leave your comments in the box. Subscribe to hear similar stories and share with your friends. See you next time!